Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Monday, the 15th of July, 2024. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.7% today, went through that 8,000 point mark, finishing at 8,017.6 points, having reached an all-time high of 8,037.3 points in morning trading. Today, interest rate sensitive technology stocks were among the best performers, with WiseTech Global, REA and Xero all higher. Rising iron ore prices helped push up the big miners, including BHP and Fortescue Metals Group. Wesfarmers, Woodside Energy, Aristocrat Leisure, QBE and Cochlear also did well. Lifestyle Communities shares fell 18% following a news report from the ABC that featured residents accusing the company of immoral and unethical conduct. Aussie Broadband shares slumped 14% after it lowered earnings guidance for the 2025 financial year. The telco also said it would aggressively pursue customers at its larger rivals, including Telstra and Optus, with a new brand. Buddy Telco, it's called. It will offer significantly cheaper broadband services, according to Aussie Broadband. And Star Entertainment's share price dropped 2% after it said it will shut off its electronic gaming machines and table games this weekend as it works to rectify a systems problem. Story number 2, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the attempted assassination of Donald Trump was a shock to the system and said it was a reminder that peaceful democratic processes in Australia can't be taken for granted. Mr Albanese said it's a great thing that in Australia, by and large, politicians, including the Prime Minister, can wonder about events and can walk around safely. That's a good thing, and it's important that democracy be cherished, he said. Australia's former ambassador to the US, Arthur Sinodinos, said the shooting wasn't unexpected, telling AAP that he's surprised it's taken this long for something to happen. He said there's been a normalisation of very unusual behaviour in the US, and I quote him, "Given the amount of polarisation in the US, the amount of mudslinging that goes on, the attempts by each side to demonise the other, it's not surprising." Story number 3, real estate agents, lawyers and accountants will be brought under strict new reporting requirements as part of an overhaul of Australia's money laundering and counter-terrorism financing legislation. The goal is to clamp down on the flow of proceeds of crime into Australia, according to Attorney General Mark Dreyfus. Mr Dreyfus said the mooted reforms were required as Australia faces a serious risk of exploitation by criminals seeking to launder illicit funds. Now, according to a report in The Australian, he said globally, trillions of dollars are generated from illegal activities such as drug trafficking, tax evasion, people smuggling, cybercrime and arms trafficking, and some of that is used to fund further serious crimes such as terrorism, child abuse and human trafficking. Mr Dreyfus said the regulatory overhaul will capture more entities to prevent abuse in the financial system, while also simplifying the reporting regime faced by businesses captured by the reforms. Story number 4, Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen will ask the federal government to exercise its powers under the Fair Work Act to potentially terminate all CFMEU enterprise bargaining agreements on Victorian construction sites. The Premier said she will look at how to toughen anti-bikie laws in the state and how to make it more difficult for certain people to associate with each other. She slammed the state branch of the CFMEU for self-interested thuggery and said the rotten culture must be pulled out by the roots. Her comments came after Prime Minister Anthony Albanese flagged more action against the union after the Victorian division was placed into administration today. Mr Albanese said all options are on the table to deal with the renegade union. A 9-media investigation found that underworld figures had infiltrated major Victorian and New South Wales construction projects. The investigation prompted the resignation of union boss John Setka last Friday. And story number 5, China's economy grew at its slowest pace in 5 quarters during the June quarter as efforts to boost consumer spending fell short, piling pressure on Beijing to lift confidence at a twice-a-decade policy meeting this week. Gross domestic product expanded 4.7% in the second quarter from the same period a year earlier, coming in well below the median forecast. Retail sales rose at the slowest pace since December 2022, showing a flurry of government efforts to boost confidence have done little, according to Bloomberg. The National Bureau of Statistics said the growth slowdown in the second quarter was due to short-term factors such as extreme weather and rain downpours and floods. It also reflected insufficient domestic demand and clogged domestic circulation. Now, the figures come as President Xi Jinping fronts the third plenum meeting. That's all about setting major economic and political policies for the coming years. That's it for the afternoon report for Monday, the 15th of July, 2024. Julian King and I will be back tomorrow morning with a Tuesday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.